Welcome to episode 2. Episode 2 is all about Object Explorer, and it's not a deep dive into Object Explorer because we will do that as the tutorials progress. So I'm going to quickly switch to SQL Server Management Studio and just give you a brief overview of the hierarchy. Here we are in SQL Server Management Studio. Now, if you haven't already, please go to Connect and to Database Engine, where you'll see localhost / SQL Express and connect. Now once we have connected, and I'll just expand this a little bit, what you can see is the server name, and this is where we are going to go through the hierarchy. And you can think of hierarchy as a way that you would structure your folders on your own desktop, PC, laptop, Chromebook, tablet, and so on. It's a way for you to structure the information related to you. And this is no different when you think about SQL Server, and especially interacting with SQL Server Management Studio. Now the hierarchy goes like this. It starts off always with the server. If you don't have a server, you cannot interact with anything. Once we've got the server, we will need to create a database. And actually in this scenario, what I can do is I can go to new database, and for the purposes of this I can just go, let's give it, in fact let's call it episode 2 database. Okay, and I'm not considering any of the other options, and I'm just going to click on OK. So what we can see is we've got episode 2 database. Now within the database, what I need to do is I need to create a table. I actually don't have any tables. So what I can do is this is not the method that I'm going to be showing in future tutorials. This is just to illustrate the hierarchy, because there'll be people who are familiar with SQL going, that's not how you create a table, and they are right. This is not how you create a table, but for the purposes of this I just want to show how a table is created. Okay, so I can give it a column name. Let's call the column name episode 2. Now let's give it a data type. So there's lots of data types, and we'll cover off different data types in future sections. I'm not going to do a tutorial just on data types. So the data types will come as part of actually learning SQL as a language. So all I'm going to do is just leave it as nchar 10. And that's it. So if I do save table 1, and what I've got to do is give it a name. What I'll do is I'll leave it as table 1 because that's what SQL Server Management Studio has given me. Okay. Now this should be saved, but we can't see it anywhere. What I need to do is go to table and refresh, and then we can see this dbo.table_1. Now the reason I have DBO is because SQL Server requires me to give it what's called a schema. This is a way of further describing the table. So let's say you've got employee and customer, and an employee will have an address and a customer will also have an address. The schema plays an important part, because what you can do is you can, instead of it being DBO, you could have employee or you could have customer, and then what you could have for the table name, so replace table_1, you could replace that with address. So you could have 2 address tables, one with employee data in it and the other one with customer data in it. Now if I expand table 1, what we should see is the columns, and what we've got there is episode 2. And actually, does it contain anything? And the answer is no, because we haven't got any data. I've made the table, but I haven't got any data in it. So what I'm going to quickly do is I'm going to go back through the hierarchy, but I'm going to look at AdventureWorks 2019. So if I go back to the server, I'll just minimize everything. We start off with the server, then we go to databases, then we go to a database name, and in this instance I'm going to look at AdventureWorks 2019. Then we have a look at the tables, and as you can see we've got schemas and we've got table names, so human resources.department. But like I mentioned about the employee and the customer address, what I'll do is I'll click on person.address. And what we can see is we can see various columns like address line 1, address line 2, city, postal code, spatial location. And the final bit is, because I know that there's data in this, is how do you quickly view the data? And quite simply, you can right click and select top 1000 rows. And there we have it. That's the end of the Object Explorer overview. In the next section, we are going to start looking at some of the code, and we will start with select. Thanks for listening, and hope you'll join me again for episode 3.